All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode.
Hey, everybody. To start off this episode, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Pride Month to everyone out there, hence my little rainbow tank top situation. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to start off the episode with that. It was Pride here in Tel Aviv over this weekend. We're recording this
It's
on
probably
June
crazy
13th.
there, no?
Crazy. Really crazy. They were expecting like 300,000 people this year, which was really insane. But they broke it up over 2 days, Thursday night and Friday. And Thursday I was like working, and then it ended at like 9. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't have time to leave work and, go back. And
For
then
the
Friday
parade, you're
was,
saying they were expecting 300,000?
yeah. And then, sorry. And then, the second day was really far up north. And like usually it's on the beach and it walks from North Tel Aviv, but not far north, just north. And then it walks towards me where I live in Jaffa, which is south. So it's like perfect because I'm walking towards my house. It's great and everything like that. Last year I was so far up north, and this is what it was the second day. That like last year, and I left kind of early because I didn't want to like with all the traffic and everything. And we have like all those scooters here, like the Limes and the Birds and the Winds and everything else. And it took me 45 minutes till I finally found a scooter. And then when I finally found it, it barely had battery and like died. And then I had to end up getting like a get taxi, and like it took forever to get one. And like it was like a nightmare getting home. And it's like, I did not want to deal with that. So I did end up skipping the parade on Friday, but I have been there many times. And then I went out Friday night. And that, well, I also went out Thursday night. I went out Friday night. I rarely go out. I never go to bars. I'm an old man, but my friends are visiting. Shout out to Chase Green. And yeah, so it was a bit of an exhausting weekend, but really cool. And I feel like for me also, like, I moved to Israel. This August is 7 years. And, oh, yeah, right. Is that crazy? Time flies. And
Crazy.
for me, it's like, I'm really connected to my Jewish identity. And, I'm a gay man and everything. And to be living in a country where I'm living in the Jewish state of Israel, I'm a Jewish person, and, driving or scootering down the streets, and you're seeing like tons of Israeli flags and rainbow flags, like, every other one is like the other color everywhere. It's like, and the country, even with Netanyahu and his whole this disaster of a government,
Craziness.
yeah, like everything was just so nice and welcoming and accepting. The only annoying part though is every single place that I went to, a restaurant or this or that, they're like, oh, well, immediately in English talking to me, where are you visiting from? Like, bitch, I've been living here for like 7 years. Like, the other night, like, I ordered a drink and I asked him for like, tequila, imit tapuzim. Any person who speaks Hebrew out there, I know I sound like a super uber Ashkenazi white boy, but tequila and orange juice. And he's like, oh, that's my favorite. And I'm like, Ken. Uh, so yeah, like, I feel like, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, and that's just my
Right.
rambling. So,
I took
yeah.
um I took an Uber to my friend's wedding this past week. Mazel tov, Aaron Burton, on his wedding.
Mazel tov.
But the driver who took me there, shout out to Dominique. Um, he was one of the most amazing people I've ever met. I got into this Uber. He starts speaking Hebrew to me. He's not Jewish. Starts speaking Hebrew, and he was just sharing like so much, just good things in the whole ride. And like one of the things he kept saying to me, which I was like, yeah, you're 1,000% right, was like, and I kept like reiterating this point also, is that regardless of your opinions on anything, hate will never solve anything, and putting people down will never solve anything. It's only going to make them feel worse. It's only going to make you feel worse. It's only going to cause more of a divide, and you will never accomplish anything if you're coming from a place of hatred, or if you're coming from a
100%.
place of pushing other people away. And that's
Yeah.
why so many of like, and I was telling him, and I was like, even in the Kabbalistic texts, like it's very clear that we're all one, we're all connected, we all come from the same place, we're all human beings. And he said to me, he's like, we also have to remember that like every person, like we talk about issues all the time, but behind all these issues are human beings, are individuals with their own lives, their own experiences, their own ups and downs, their own struggles. So it's super important to remember that. And that's something that I try to remind myself on a daily basis. Living in America is the most divisive time in history, and it drives me nuts that everyone's just constantly hating on each other, and this is terrible and you're terrible, and like enough, grow up, treat everyone with respect, treat everyone like a mensch, be a mensch, and let's get moving. You know what I'm saying? Let's get moving.
Yeah. First of all, hashtag be a mensch, make that real, guys. Second of all, I was literally just talking to a friend of mine yesterday, who's visiting, for Pride and everything from America. And I was talking to him about, like, he asked me about, like, the riots that were going on here and everything. And I was like, it's funny because every time I watch the news in America, or the BBC, like, I'm living here, I'm going through whatever they're talking about. And it's like, they portray it very differently. But, like, the riots, they're making it seem like, they're violent or, like, crazy and everything. I went to them. And it's so different than any riot in America. I've been to one, completely different. There was no violence.
Right.
People are literally, singing, Hatikva, like, Israeli songs. There's literally people who are just dancing in circles. Like, they all just want to, this whole judicial reform thing is crazy. And, whatever the government's trying to do is very crazy. And the prime minister currently is, hopefully the Mossad's not going to come after me, guys. If you don't hear from me and I end up dead, it's him. But I'm just saying, though, write that down. But, he's really dividing the country, kind of like Trump divided the country. But the problem is, and the big difference between here and in America is that you had some people in the corner who were like, shouting with their microphones who were against it. But honestly, it was like a very small crowd. But there was no like crazy back and forth, like, or throwing things or lighting fires or anything like that, or gunshots. We don't have that here, unless you're getting, shot by terrorists. And, compared to America, where it's like people aren't just fighting the government, people are fighting each other. They're fighting each other and then the government. No one's looking for resolution or peace. And we're living in this, world, especially with like technology. And that's what scares me for the next generation, because it's even worse. It's like people are so self-consumed in their phone and their life. And, you have a lot of these people who are like, I never realized I put myself first. So now I'm going to be all about me. And putting yourself first is a very important thing to do. There are situations where you have to put someone else. When you have children, you have to put someone else. If a close friend of yours is really sick, you could, it's obviously your choice. But being a narcissist or being all self-consumed is completely different than, putting yourself first. And everybody is in this world where what they believe and what their beliefs are, that's it. And anyone else, they are going to just attack you, like, and send death threats, like, online. And, I was never that kind of person who could sit behind my keyboard and be a different person. Like, but like the things that people say on Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff, it's like incomprehensible. It's like, aside from the fact that you literally don't know that person, like you were talking about, like that hate and that anger. And it's like, hate isn't like, it stems from something much deeper. You don't just have
reflection
hate
of yourself. It's a reflection of yourself.
And like, there's something you might disagree with, or, like even you and I, we sometimes have conflicting opinions. I mean, obviously at the end of the day, we both know that I'm the one who's right. But regardless of that, obviously, even though it's true, just kidding, we could agree to disagree, and it doesn't affect our relationship. We've never gotten a fight about politics and stopped talking. Like because like, just because I might believe something, you might believe something different. That, like, it's not like, well, that's it. Like, it's
you also know that I love you. I always will love you, and I respect you regardless of anything. And people,
but that,
unable...
like you just said, that respect is lacking in people.
Right.
That respect for fellow humans. People, that's the thing, is we're all on our phones. We all create this persona. Everyone's wearing a mask. They're so self-consumed in themselves that we're really socially interacting. And now with, like, this new Apple Vision, Pro headset, and like how AR, yeah, it is AR, is really becoming more of a thing. And eventually they are saying, like, this is going to replace like the iPhones and stuff like that. And it's like, then we're really going to be so disconnected. We talk about how social media is disconnecting us. It's like, that is going to be like the end. Like, we're in completely crazy times. And so everybody is just so obsessed with their own selves and own world. And that's the end all be all. And no one is having respect for each other, or like just sit down and have a conversation. It's like, I always joke around sorry, I keep talking, rambling. Like, I always joke around that, like, when people ask me, like, if I ever believe that there's going to be like peace in the Middle East, if it's ever possible. And I always say, like, honestly, like, if everyone just like sat around and like, smoked a joint or two, like just passed it around and everything, and like maybe they would be able to chill the fuck out and maybe like talk things through normally. And maybe that's the only way. Otherwise, we're like totally never going to have it. But it's just like, people need to chill the fuck out. And like, that's the problem. And especially with social media, because everyone has a platform now. People who never had a voice, they have a platform, and they have to share everything they feel. I don't share everything I feel. I do social media for work, for a living. At the end of the day, the last thing I want to be doing is going on my social media. I rarely post on my own stuff. Like,
Right.
for what? Like, for the validation, for the likes, for the comments. Like, oh my God, I'm so jealous. You're on a vacation. Like, all that stuff. It's like, for what? What are we living in this world doing? Like, smartphones and technology have helped us in so many ways, but obviously with the pros comes the cons, and here we are.
That social media comment, like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous you're on a vacation, reminds me of that episode of Family Guy I saw years ago when this woman like posted a picture of her at a pool on Facebook, and Peter comments on it, sorry to hear about your divorce. Because there's always something going on underneath that people don't see, and they try to portray a certain thing. But if I could just share a very quick Torah that is very connected to this, the Balatanya, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, he writes in Tanya, for those interested, I believe it's chapter 33, that when he's specifically talking about seeing someone doing something wrong, for example, or someone that that's committed a sin in any capacity, he said we have to get to a place where you separate the action from the person. And I think that when it comes to these issues, you have to be able to separate the ideology from the person. And unless they're like committing actual violence against you, or like really harming you, you have to be able to separate those two and recognize people for who they are, which is just that, people. We're all humans here. We're all just citizens of the world trying to make the world a better place. And hopefully, God willing, we can do that,
Yeah, no, totally. And that's the thing, is even across religions, like in Judaism and in the Torah and everything, like God made all of us, and we were all made in the image of God. Not the Jews were the only ones made in the image of God, is we were all made in the image of God. Like there's, it's like, there's a lot of religions who say like, or I have, I'm not calling out, I don't know a lot about Christianity and stuff, but I know a lot of it, like, because I've met some people here in Israel who do like, they visit here a lot. You know, they are very respectful of the Jews, but like they believe that at the end of the day, we do have to accept Christ as our savior in order to go to heaven and all this stuff. Like in Judaism, it's like people who aren't Jewish have to keep the Shabbat mitzvah b'nei Noach, where it's like, do not kill, do not steal, do not, it's like adultery. I don't know what the other, couple ones are, but it's like very like
Right.
just really like standard, like very normal moral things.
Yep.
And you go to heaven. It's like everyone's created in a certain way. And even with the Torah and, talking about the Jews who were the chosen people, like God didn't, just give it to us. Like it talks about how he offered it to other nations before us. Like we should be humbled that at the end of the day, like we were, like the third pick, like we should be humbled at the end of the day that we were able to receive it. So it's like God's way of saying like, no, it's not like you're just like, you're like the best ones in the class, like, oh yeah, these are my losers, like here you go, you guys are the cool ones. Like it's like, be humbled by this. I did offer to other people, so don't fuck it up. I'm sure those were her
Right.
exact words, but and that's the thing. And like, when I was working in New York for Bobby Brown before I moved to Israel, in Bloomingdale, Soho, there was a lot of like ultra Orthodox Jews who would come to the store who wouldn't know that I was Jewish, or the fact that I literally grew up religious and everything. And I would see the way they would treat my coworkers who weren't Jewish, and I remember it would like embarrass me so much. And like they didn't know I was Jewish, and like I would just be like so mortified, because I'm like, all I would think of is we have something in Judaism about making a Chilul Hashem. One of the worst things you could do is do something, whether you're disrespecting someone on the street or in any way, causing any harm or anything to anybody. Like if they're going to look at you, they might think like, oh my God, look at that Jewish person, so, he's stupid, or, oh, why would he do that?
Yep.
Or, oh, he's so disrespectful. That's like literally one of the worst things you could do. So when I would see the way, like they were, like my coworkers were treated like less than, and it would really bother me, because I'm like, first of all, I'm the coworker. Like I don't want them to see Jewish people that way, because we're not all like that at all. And it's like, and for me, it's like, it's also, to me, it's like, it's so sad, because these people who are the ultra Orthodox ones who I've seen do this, and I'm sure it's not that it's an entire community. I'm not generalizing, but like I've just seen it often. Um, they are just, they're supposed to be like, more above and beyond, but it's like they're in this, bubble where it's like you are like, completely just not a relevant person in the world. You're just, help me out, but like, and it's like it's disappointing. So I feel like everyone, any person in the world, all religions, like, and that's the thing, and that's with racism, all this different stuff, like, we do have to come together. I don't know how, the world became so divided. God made all of us. All of us. He didn't like accidentally make some oopsie doopsies, and he sure as hell didn't make all the different skin colors and races and cultures and all these different things to create like, some sort of WWE fight. Like, that's not like, so like everyone needs to just like calm down. I just don't know how we're gonna get there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was said very well. And I just watched recently the interview with Mark Zuckerberg on the Lex Friedman podcast, and I think it was when he asked him about faith, because he's a man of faith. I don't think I mean, he's identifies as a Jew. I think he grew up as Reformed or traditional Jewish, but he said something very interesting, which really resonated with me, which is that when you look at the creation of man and the very first chapter of Genesis of Bereshit, and it says that we were created, like you said, in God's image. Up until then, the only thing of God, the only aspect of God that was spoken about or mentioned up until that point was Him creating. Right? He created the world, and then He created man. And being made in God's image, obviously, is related in some way to creating. And he was saying that he thinks that it's virtuous to create. And I think that the fact that there are so many cultures, even within the Jewish community and the world, obviously as a whole, there's so many different types of people. There's so many different cultures, and they all have so much to give to the world. There's so much for everyone to share with and celebrate and enjoy from in like all aspects, in art and music and just like in everything. And it's such an important thing to learn from everyone. That's literally a pasuk, a verse in Tehillim, to become a student. That King David said, "I became a student from everyone." Right? Mikol melamdai hiskalti. I learned from everyone. Everyone that I encountered taught me something, and I think it's super, super important. So, I think it starts with just us focusing on ourselves, and ultimately, in the more that we work on ourselves, hopefully, we could inspire and change those around us. Because you're never going to convince everybody, and the older I get,
right, and not change them in a way where we're going to change them to believe in all everything that we think. That's the thing. Also,
just to be people that respect each other, love each other, and are there to just show support and comfort when it's needed. Because even with some of my closest friends who very much so disagree with me on a lot of things, there would never be a time that if they came to me or they were in need or they were struggling, that I wouldn't be there to support them in any way that I could, regardless of their beliefs. So we should all strive.
And that's the thing. Just like we all come in different shapes and sizes and colors and cultures and, religions and this and that, we also come in with different beliefs and all of that kind of stuff. And even if our beliefs, differ, then we should still respect each other because it's the same thing. One is physical in our outer appearance, and one is our internal part and the way we think and everything. So it's like we're still so racist and all this stuff in sense of the way we view people's inside and their true selves. And so it's like we don't realize that even though we're trying to get rid of like all the racism and anti-Semitism and equality and all this stuff, we're still not focusing on the inner parts of people. We're still focusing on the outside.
Right.
It's disappointing.
Okay, and that's literally part of the reason that we started this podcast, right? To obviously to have fun and to talk about interesting things, but also to create a place where we can show the world that two different types of people from seemingly two different sides of the spectrum, politically and spiritually or religiously, and not spiritually.
I'm obviously on the higher side. You're on the lower end, but
right?
Yeah,
we could still not just be amicable, but love and respect each other, support and make each other feel comfortable, and that's the most important thing in the world. Nothing else matters at the end of the day.
And like also like obviously it can't be easy being my brother, because to look at me every day and know like shit, like he's so good looking and I'll never look like that. Like I'm sure that's been a struggle for you for a long time. But
a little while.
Yeah, we still get along. It's like it's hard, and the fact that I'm the favorite child, it's like oh my, it's like a double woozy.
Right. Um, but speaking of some lesser intense topics that we had been discussing beforehand a little bit earlier this week, and something specifically that Sheldon and I were very excited to talk about, is the recent statements interview with, I believe his name David Grusch or something. His last name is
Something like
Grusch,
that.
who was a pretty high up government official who claims to know about, without any actual evidence, but claims to know about non-human origin craft. And assumingly, what he implied, at least on his interview in the UK, would imply that they must be in possession of like pilots or something that flew it in. Otherwise, obviously they flew it here somewhere. There should be some sort of body or something. And he said,
No,
that
I'm saying,
it could be
well, talking about this thing, you're talking about like extraterrestrial things.
right,
Like to get more context. Okay.
right, non-human origin. And it's interesting because someone recently, I was studying with my cousin, or actually no, this was with someone else. Someone asked me about Judaism and their belief in like extraterrestrials, if it's an issue or if it's heretical. It's definitely not heretical because there are several books which discuss extraterrestrials and aliens.
Throw back to our last podcast about many podcasts ago. We talked about how some people don't believe that dinosaurs ever because they think God just planted the bones. So
Right.
Yeah,
so
continue.
I mean, the Zohar, for example, the Shla, for example. There's a sefer called
The Zohar's
Sefer
and like
Hadris.
it's Kabbalah, right?
Yeah. But the Shla, they discuss with a few different sources the idea of extraterrestrials. One thing that they agree on is that they're definitely not human-like, which makes sense. They're not going to look like us or be like us, but people obviously are beings of much higher intelligence. And the reason I think that people assume that is obviously because if they're getting close to us, they have to be traveling faster than the speed of light, right?
Yeah. I feel like, so that's the thing. So that's always good. I feel like people who completely deny that there's any other life form out there, I think is just like you could say there's absolutely 100% something out there. You can't say I mean, actually I kind of believe them more, but that's my personal, but you can't say one or the other. It's absolutely not, because we do not know. We haven't even explored most of this ocean on our own planet. We sure as hell haven't explored as much space. And as much as we have explored and how cool it is, there is so much more we have. It's incomprehensible to most people, including myself, how vast the universe is. We still don't even know. Like, there's only a certain point we've been to. So, but even something as small as an organism or something like that, like for me, it's like to deny that there's any sort of actual life, even a plant is life, but to deny there's any sort of organisms or anything like that or something completely different, I think is a naive statement. Especially because you've literally never even been to space once. I mean, so you really don't have any ground to stand on. You have gravity to stand on, bitch. But I feel like, this, like, I was always like, I always like wondered, like, you never know. But I do feel like, there is that thing in, I keep saying, and it's funny because I'm going to talk about another story a little bit later where she also says, like, it's funny. So basically, I, of course, lost my train of thought because I'm ADHD. But like, here I go again. Like not most people, people who believe in aliens just assume like they're the ones who are going to be visiting us. They're the ones who are going to be making contact with us. They're the ones who are going to be more advanced. They're the ones, like, there's people who believe that like we got a lot of our own technology, like with the boom in technology, like, was because we got like aliens in Area 41 and all this stuff. Like,
51, yeah.
Oh my God, there you go. You see, I live in Israel for 7 years.
Area
there
73.
Like I was saying, seriously, guys, I make my own areas these days, okay? Fuck Area 51. Mine's better. Come to Area 48, you guys. Much more fun. And I'll let you in. Won't shoot you.
No, it's definitely, I think also I agree with you. I think it's a little bit lazy to assume that there's no chance of life or even that there might be nothing. Especially
we've like only like encountered like 7% of like the fish species or whatever.
Right.
And that is on our own planet. Like we're also constantly like
also space, like outer space outside of our universe is expanding faster than the speed of light. We're always taught in school that nothing is faster than light, but nothing travels through space faster than light. Space-time space expands faster than the speed of light. And a lot of physicists believe, or put forward the belief, or the idea that space is infinite. And if it's infinite, it would only make sense that there's going to be life. I mean, we can't even fathom what infinite means.
Right.
But,
Like there's other planets out in the world. Like we're not in
right.
our own worlds. Like we're on a planet. And so like it's funny that people are just like, oh, those other ones, no way there's anything on there. And it's
There's
like
100 billion suns in our galaxy. Like
right. And
that
it's like,
number is not even fathomable.
even like, other planets, we as humans living on Earth cannot live on those planets because we are not equipped and we would die. But just like there's tons of fish in like the end of the Mariana Trench where we cannot go as people or we'll literally bust because of all the pressure, and they're swimming in totally normal, like you don't like anything that's living there could be adapted to that, even with like evolution and how animals and even people who want to talk about chimpanzees turning into humans, we've evolved over time. So anything living on those planets, they're not us. So they wouldn't be struggling with those things. They could be living like and adapting there. And even like now with like the new James Webb telescope or whatever, like we're getting incredible images that we never had before. We never had images like this before. And there's still so much we haven't seen. Even if we land on the moon and we landed on Mars and stuff, they're huge ass I mean, the moon is not a planet, but like Mars is a huge ass planet. We didn't go around all of it and we know what's going on everywhere. Like we don't know. So it is a very lazy statement because these are professionals and we do not know. But so when this whole situation happens in Las Vegas and everything, was it Las Vegas?
Yeah, I think
When
it
that
was
so when this thing came down, like it's really crazy to see the light and everything. It sounds like a very fascinating case, much more than any other thing, especially in recent time and everything. Especially because you literally see in the police cam something falling from the sky, and even the police officer in the video is like asking people, like he's like, "This is gonna sound really crazy, but like, did you guys happen to see like anything falling?" Because he was like in disbelief. One of the other ones was like this is like too much, like. And but the only thing
his
is,
body cam footage had to cut out right before he goes into the backyard where the family claimed
yeah, because because obviously you're not allowed to film on private property. Because I mean, that's been something that's always happened. Even
and then
these
the
people
news
were also
shows
interviewed,
right? And then the news shows a drone overview of the house, and you don't think that the family who called them would be totally okay showing them.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Also, like it's private property, great. Except for these people are also being interviewed willingly, and they're fine with being on camera. All you need to do is have them sign off that you're allowed to be on their property. So like, what is all of that? But the only thing that makes me like, get like whatever is the fact that the guy described them as having big eyes and like all that kind of stuff. It's like, because that's what also has just been ingrained in us in television. That's something that has been created. So it's like, but so like when it's immediately like, someone sees something and starts describing it as something that was really scripted in Hollywood and stuff. It's like, that's when it's like, but maybe they do have big eyes. I mean, I don't know, but it definitely was something very bizarre. We like the Pentagon or whatever finally confirmed there are UFOs, but at the same time, a lot of them could have been just like, other countries testing new spacecrafts we're not aware of. But there's definitely something to it. It's very bizarre.
Right. I always felt that Area 51 is probably where they work on advanced technology that they want to keep quiet from the rest of
exactly
the
right. Everyone assumes it's aliens, but there's a lot of things that we do besides aliens. People like there's a lot of undercover stuff we're never gonna know.
Is that you have so many sightings over the last 100 years, and a lot of these sightings were with.
What happened over you? Is your PC gonna explode?
Because no, it's not a Mac? Quick. Thought I shut down. Just did a quick on off with the screens. But a lot of these sightings have also been with multiple, if not several tens of people. And then you have people like Bob Lazar who claim to have actually come in contact. Whether or not he's lying, I don't know. What I will say is that he stuck to his story and has not slipped up once in over 30 years of being interviewed about it. And it remains steadfast in the same exact story and the same exact things that he saw, that the government 100% has already had contact and access, and they have technology that shouldn't exist. and that he's seen it. Whether or not
Of
it's
course.
true, I don't know. But
Technology,
it definitely requires looking
100%.
into.
100%.
Definitely
Because
requires.
the technology that we as the public have access to is incredible these days. The government and all like the anything Secret Service, the CIA, the Mossad here in Israel, all these things, they have many more technologies that are way more advanced than any of us can even fathom.
I think
We
the
just don't
internet
have the
was
access
first
knowledge to
used
it.
by the military before it ever was a public.
I think it was the Navy. I think I might be wrong. I think it was the Navy, and then it became something that I hope it's not that COVID. That COVID thing that we were totally going crazy over. That kind of like everyone forgot about.
Right. It's funny because when I use like Chat GPT or AI sometimes to get some current event topics to discuss, it always mentions
Always, it's like, bitch, I am
COVID
over the
or
COVID
Delta
thing.
variant.
I'm like over it. It's
even-
like, and we're all pretending like it didn't happen. Beforehand, it was like, I got vaccinated. I got vaccinated 3 times. And, I was fine with it. And I was like, I don't know why people wouldn't get it. And it's like, it's great and everything like that. But like, I remember telling like someone I knew who didn't get a vaccine, her and her husband. And I was like, I was, whatever, because I'm close with them. And I'm like, it's going to be, when you fly on airlines, it's like, yeah, sure, you don't have to get vaccinated, but you can't fly. You're not going to be able to fly anywhere. Like, we don't know. Like, that's just going to be like the way it is. And now it's like, we don't have to wear masks on a flight. You don't have to be vaccinated. No one's getting tested. We just pretend like none of this ever happened.
That's because the job of the media is to sensationalize everything.
Not even the media, though. What happened to the World Health Organization? What is going on?
And they
like,
kept
we
going
just
back and
pretend
forth
like this
on
didn't
masks.
happen. No, the mask things is because they had a shortage at the beginning. So they were like, oh, yeah, no, totally, like, no. And then they were like, yeah, you need them. And then you need them outside. Like, bitch.
Right. And then they came out again that they don't really do that much to protect against COVID. The whole
and then
thing
it was like the one with the
just-
filters are good. Oh, wait, no, they're not good. Oh, this, oh, that. It's like, you could do what you can. The people who were throwing crazy parties and all that, I wasn't happy with that. I don't think that's good. But at the same time, like, you do have to live your life, and people who are more susceptible and stuff like that are going to take more precautions. People who run into stores and they're like, oh, I'm not going to wear a mask. It's my right, blah, blah, blah. Like, you are on private property and you do not have to go into the store, and you're just trying to make a scene, and you're going to end up on YouTube looking stupid and never get a job the rest of your life. Like, just do it. It's not that hard. Like, you think any one of us wanted to wear masks? You think I wanted to? Like, I don't like wearing turtlenecks. I get very, like, I'm, claustrophobic. I don't like wearing turtlenecks. I never liked growing up on Shabbat when we were like ties and everything, because I felt so constricted. Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, I can't. So the mask on my face, it's not like, oh my God, I can't breathe. People who are like, I can't breathe, unless you're doing some crazy intense cardio where you're literally having a gasp in the ear, you're breathing. And if you can't breathe, think about all the doctors operating on people. They must literally be passing out right and left.
There was a woman, I think, who ran. There was a woman, I think, who ran like a marathon with a mask on, just to like show you that you can do it. And
it's a ridiculous thing.
Doctors will have it on straight for 24 hours doing an intense surgery. They could obviously breathe. It might feel a little bit claustrophobic or whatever.
Also, right, exactly. And when the air's going out, it's staying within that thing, so you're feeling that heat, so it's uncomfortable. Like, I get that.
The warm air.
Yeah. Right. No one likes that. And I have not ever found a mask that are like, oh, they don't fog up your glasses. It's bullshit. They all fog up your glasses. And it's annoying as hell. But I didn't want to wear it. But when I went into stores and stuff, I was going to wear it, because that's what you just do what you got to do.
Right.
None of us want to be in this situation. And the more we, just do what we're supposed to, the better it will get. And then there's people who are like, oh, you see, it didn't get as bad as they thought. But at the same time, what if we never did the masks? What if we never did any of that? It could have been maybe a lot worse. I do believe at this point that it was a leak from a Chinese lab. I don't think it was an intentional leak. I do absolutely think that it was an accidental leak, which they do this across in many countries where they are testing new things and all this stuff to, in order to test immunity things and making medications and all this stuff. Like, it could happen where it leaks. The way it was handled was very poorly, but it's just like, now we're just like pretends like it didn't happen. And it's like, I feel like also there's a lot of us who do have, trauma from going through that none of, like, subconsciously, that we're not even aware of. Like, our lives were completely upended for like almost 3 years. Like, now we're just moving on like it's normal. It's like, there's a lot to process with that.
But I also feel, on the other hand, that this has been one of the greatest few years in terms of recognition of mental health issues and the need for people to work on them. Like, we were all just stuck at home, locked down, not really going out much, and it brought out a lot of bad sides of people and or the worst parts of people or the most difficult parts of people, and it forced them to have to face those issues. And I don't remember a time. I've only been alive for 27 years, but even
First
throughout
of all,
history,
bitch, that's almost 3 decades, so calm down. You ain't that
there's
young anymore.
there's never been a time in history where there's that where the stigma around mental health issues has been lessened to such a degree, where so many people are forthcoming rather about mental health issues and the fact that we struggle and the fact that we have to work on ourselves. And I also think that it's because, up until recent decades or the last century, we were all busy like 24/7. People used to work from day until night. And now that we have much more free time on our hands, most of us, most of the world, we have a lot of free time on our hands. We have a lot more time to think and be in our own thoughts. It kind of forces us to have to face those issues that up until now had to be sort of suppressed or in order to, keep living, because you just had to do what you had to do. Nowadays, we're kind of forced to face ourselves and recognize that if we have issues, we got to deal with them, and we got to take the steps necessary to work on them. If there was any silver lining, at least for me, throughout COVID, it was the fact that people realized that, you know what, I got to work on this area of my life. I should work on this. I got to work on that. Maybe I should speak to someone. Whatever it is, it's just that I feel like is the one good quality to find throughout all this craziness.
Yeah, like I feel like, I think the first time I started seeing a therapist, I was in like third or fourth grade. And, even being a closet case, because I mean, obviously I didn't know third or fourth grade, but even, and I didn't have a lot of friends in middle school. And like, I was kind of bullied from a couple of kids in middle school. Like, but I was very open, always open. I was never embarrassed by the fact that I was in therapy. I'd always like talk about it very casually. And I remember some people saying to me, like, or like I had friends who did it, but they didn't want people to know or anything. Or it was like, a deep secret, as if they were coming out of the closet to me that they're in therapy. And it's like, in life, all of us, you're never staying stagnant. You're either going up or you're going down. All of us has stuff to improve on. No one has a perfect life. That's why it's still funny to me when people look at celebrities and they're still like, oh my God, they're amazing. Everyone has their shit. If rich, poor, white, black, it's all different kind of shit. It's all different. And some people do have it worse, absolutely. And I'm like, it does make me, not in a selfish way, but it does make me appreciate the fact that, the issues that I do go through, like it could be worse. Some of us were dealt a harder hand, and I really do sympathize with those people. I can't imagine certain things I hear, and I'm just like, I don't know. And there's people who are stronger than me, and I'm not going to say like God gave it to them because they can handle it. I think that's a dumb thing to say. It's like we don't know why, but so it makes me happy that I, even with my issues, like I do have things, but I think that everyone should be in therapy. I think it should be, especially in America. I mean, America doesn't give you health care unless you're paying. It's like, oh, you're dying, we don't have health insurance? Okay, well, bye. Oh, you need to buy a funeral box. Oh, well, it's really expensive to have a funeral. You might just want to get cremated, but that's not so cheap either. It's like, everyone should be in therapy. It's like, even people who are very into self-reflection and yoga, and I always, I'm always in my head, I'm like OCD, and I'm always, I have insecurities just like everybody else. And it's like, I'm always doubting myself or second guessing myself and stuff. And it's like, but they're having a person who, obviously finding a therapist or a psychiatrist or psychologist that, you feel comfortable with and you can open up to, that's the most important part. Maybe you'll meet a first one and it doesn't work out. That doesn't mean you should give up. Sorry. But it's, giving you an outside perspective of yourself. It's kind of like an out of body experience. Like there's times, I was talking to my therapist about something and I would talk about a situation one way. And then he'd be like, right, Sheldon. And he'd be like, but like, what if you think about, and then he would give me another perspective. And I'd be like, oh, like I was so wrapped up in that I didn't even like think about that part of it. It's
Right.
like, you're not going to gain that even as someone who is doing deep reflection, because there might be things that are in your subconscious that you didn't really think of. It's like, or sometimes when we're wrapped up in emotions, things are like, suppressed. So it's like, it gives you that outside perspective. And it's like, if you're a person who's working on yourself, if you're feeling depressed and you're getting help for that, like, if you're on medication, if you're, whatever you're doing, it's like, instead of it being a stigma where it's like, oh, I'm embarrassed, all this stuff, it's like, if anything, it's like, dude, like you're working on yourself. It's like, when you're working in school and you're trying to get better grades, like anything like that, like this is your life. So when you're doing something to improve yourself, to improve your life, there shouldn't be stigma around it. It should be something that people should be like, damn. And people who aren't in therapy and might be struggling with something should look at him like, damn, like, that's really inspiring. Like, the fact that he's actually like doing something, like that's the way we should be viewing it.
Right.
Super
There's definitely no
important.
harm being done by going to someone for perspective guidance and that, like, what's the worst that could happen? That you don't
Right.
you don't jive well with the person. Okay. You go to you go to
Right.
someone else. But like,
And
I
it's not like
remember
I've been in therapy since like fourth grade to like now in my life. Like, it's been on and off times. And there's certain times where you maybe go through a harder time and you should start seeing someone more often. Now I still have a therapist that I had, the same one I had in New York. And now I only speak to him once a month, just like a check in to see how everything's going and stuff like that. Because I'm in a good place in my life, thank God, that I don't need to have weekly things. And even once a month, that like a lot of times I'm just like, after like 15 minutes, I'm just like, yeah, so like that's pretty much what's going on. Like,
I remember one of the more famous UFC fighters, Paddy Pimblett, who's a lightweight. He
what a weird
fights in the
name.
lightweight division. Paddy the Baddy. He after one of his that's like his it's like his nickname.
I
After
know,
one
I
of
get
his
that, but it's just like,
So after one of his victories, when he was given the microphone, he was just speaking about mental health, and something he said at the end, which really hit me, was like, it's better to have your mate, because he's from the UK, better to have your mate cry on your shoulder than for you to be crying at his funeral. And if someone if you know someone's going through something, just be there for them. And it's so important for us to recognize that. You never really know. Just again, like we said before, show respect, show love, and people will flourish, and blossom into who they can be.
100%. Like, it's like when I was a kid, it's like, I wasn't the popular one, and you always want to be like the popular person with like tons of friends. Or when I came out of the closet, all of a sudden, like everyone wanted to be my best friends, and all these girls want to be my, they wanted me to be their gay best friends. I wasn't even friends with them. Everyone all of a sudden loved me. And like in the beginning for me, it was like, oh my God, I never got this attention, and it felt good. And obviously, like it was shortly lived. And then you get to a point where it's like, there's a lot. I always say there's a lot of people that I'm friendly with. It's like you see them, you're like, hi, whatever, where they stand. Not, you don't have to be, mean to people, or like, they're not bad and they're good and everything. There's different levels of friendship, and like there's people at that end of the day when you're going through shit, whether it's a divorce or a shitty date, like the people that you can actually rely on, and like those are the most important people. And you can only have like 2 or 3 friends, even just one of those friends. Like those are the ones that at the end of the day when you're going through shit, they're gonna be there for you. Like, I remember when I was in New York and I used to party a lot. I had all these friends and we went partying like every night, and like I had a whole crew. And once I, started working and like I kind of got over the partying scene, like, and all that stuff, it's like all those people kind of like dwindled away. And it's like, because they were very shallow relationships. Like we never really did anything besides party. We drank, and we went out clubs. Like there was no substance.
But even the friends and I'm sure you can relate to this as well. Obviously, I'm in touch with a lot of my close friends on a weekly or daily basis. But even the friends that like I have real relationships with that I can't speak to as often because we're busy and have lives. The second we see each other, boom, you're just back in it. You feel like you're right back.
That's how you know those are the good friends. You
Right.
could talk to someone every day, but like there's certain friends I have also. I might not talk to them for a few months, maybe even like 6 months. One of them I just was talking recently. It's been like a year. It's like, but the second we start talking, it's like we immediately are just like back in that. It's like, but those are the real friends, and those are the real friends that even if you don't talk to when you're going through a hard time, they will reach out to you, or you can reach out to them, and they'll be there for you. And it's like, as you do become an adult, everyone's in their own lives, and I'm in a different country. It's like, and you're at work, and you have kids now. Like there's that. It's hard not to get enveloped in your own world because you have your own family and everything, and it's like a whole to do. So it's like it's just you don't have as much time as both of you might want to speak to each other. So it's nice to have those kinds of people in your life as well.
Right. It's interesting because so many people have been enjoying the like working from home, and so many jobs have obviously now enabled people to work from home, and they love it.
I know a lot of them are trying to change
personally, right? Like for me personally, I need to like speak to people and socialize and to see people. It's so important to just get that social interaction.
Like,
and like I need it.
I work from home twice a week, and then I'm in the office 3 times a week, and I love it. Also, my office is pretty close; it's like a 9-minute scooter ride, and it's great because I love like working from home. It's good, and like it's I could get like stuff done, like doing laundry, washing dishes, but it's also good. It's also there is a difference between having a Zoom call and an in-person meeting where we're going over things. Like I would be showing them my notebook, stuff like that. We could work things easier. Like there is a difference, and also being with my coworkers, we're working, towards something together. it's, you kind of like have that kind of like energy. Like I really vibe off of people's energy and everything, that if everyone's in that kind of like mode where like, they're going and it's like exciting and I love my team and stuff. So like it motivates me to like, do it. So it's like, there is definitely like that sense to it. But just quickly, because I know you're going to be like, okay, well, this is wrapping it up and stuff. Speaking about mental health and everything, just want to bring this up just really quickly because I need to talk to you about this also. This Corey, I believe her last name is Richards or whatever, is this woman who lives in Utah, and she was married to this guy.
Corey
And
Richins?
Richards or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Corey Richards.
Yeah.
Koui.
So she literally, like, her husband died and stuff, and she ended up writing a book with her children because she couldn't find anything on the market that would help kids, like, in a children's kind of style book that, helping them through grief and knowing that even their father's not physically here, he's always there for you because he died unexpectedly and like all this stuff. And it's like she was on like, a news program, ABC in Utah, all this stuff, wrote this book, and it sounds like a really great idea and everything, right? Yeah. She killed her husband, literally killed him.
I'm just seeing that.
With fentanyl. Wasn't even the first time she tried to kill him. And like right afterwards, like bought a house, and apparently he didn't want to buy this house. There was a $2 million huge ass crazy like 18,000 square foot house and like all this stuff. Like, and he was like a really nice guy. He was it's not like he was abusive. There's nothing wrong with him. And like she literally killed him, tried to get all his life insurance, but he was suspecting her of wanting to kill him. So he actually changed his life insurance. And then she was suing his sister because he made her the power of attorney because he thought she tried killing him twice before. And, and it's like, well, why would he stay with her? It's like, he really stayed for the kids. And, he might have thought that she was doing that, but like the nerve to not only do that, but like to write a book with your children, knowing that you're the one who killed their father, and then going on TV, live TV, and saying like, you're doing this to help other people out there and everything. It's like, you're
Those
like
are sociopaths, so they have zero. Like, there's just nothing there.
Like a complete, like it's
crazy because I just searched it, and it says that she was searching for the following phrases already in April of last year on Google: luxury prisons for the rich in America. How long does life insurance companies take to pay? Can you delete everything on an old iCloud account? Can deleted text messages be retrieved?
And that's my favorite part, because the text messages, she was sending text messages with the drug dealer, and she deleted that from her phone. It's like, we're literally in 2023, bitches.
Right,
like, we've been knowing this.
It's also funny
text
that all these
messages on your phone. I always love that. Or the guy who killed his wife, and like literally it was everything like, how do you dispose of the body? What's the best way to get rid of the body? Like all that stuff. And it's like a whole list of things they're reading. He's pleading non-guilty. It's like, dude, who's doing that? And it's like, but like, just because you're deleting it off of your phone, like we have phone providers, and those phone providers have a transcript of everything. And if we're doing it on an app, the app has a transcript of everything. Right. So whether it's on or off your phone, it doesn't mean anything.
It's funny because her defense attorney, in response to the state's allegations about her search history, said search history is merely in response to what was happening with the investigation, not evidence as of guilt, as the state asserts. Come on, my man.
I mean, hold on. If I was being investigated for something crazy, the first thing I would also be Googling is, can you recover deleted text messages? Why would I be worrying about that? Right.
Utah.
But like what are you gonna, like, why would I be looking for that if I have nothing to hide?
Horrible. And now your children have no father in their lives, and you're
going to jail, and they're fucked up.
And there goes their parents.
And there goes their I hope they get therapy. Like,
terrible. Well, on that lovely note,
right? Seriously, Corey Richards, burn in hell. I'm just saying.
Let's just all be better people for ourselves, like we said, and just work on ourselves. And
to quote Melania's amazing campaign, "Be better or be best." What was it? Be best or be better?
I have no idea.
One of those.
Be
better. So yeah, thank you,
better.
You guys.
See, you could even learn. You could even learn from Melania just to be better.
Melania? No, she's not the Melania. She's Melania. Yeah. His immigrant wife, even though he hates immigrants.
Melania's from Elden Ring.
Yeah, she probably has more personality than Melania does, because Melania's on strings.
But yeah, hopefully we'll catch everyone next week.
Bye, happy Pride, peeps.
And just sending a lot of love to everyone out there.
Yeah, like and subscribe on YouTube.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.